help. I would love to know because I'm constantly asking these questions to myself, that how important do you feel it is to stick to a lineage? And how much do you think we can actually, as yoga teachers, go away from doctrine maybe sometimes, and the way it's done. So if it's a lineage that Dr. Ananda Bala Yogi, that he sort of teaches, or it's a Bihar School of Yoga lineage, or if it's an like Patabi Joyce lineage, how important do you think that is to stick to? Yeah.
So, in terms of yoga, of course, though I have, as I said, I've read scriptures, I've read a lot about yoga. I have practiced as well in the past for so many years now. And meditation, you asked that how important it is to stick to one lineage, or I think by my own experience, I can just share what I think, what my personal perspective towards this is that of course they were like the lineage or the rishis or the gurus or the masters who've been teaching this in like few particular techniques and a form and a way to do it. They have been researching on that since decades, and it's like being passed on from one to another to another, and this is how it has been. But nowadays, when we are actually getting exposed to so many things around, various masters, various techniques, so it's coming from one source itself. It just has been because there has been so many, like centuries, and so it just scatters, right? But the source was one. Someday, this is what I think. So it does not really matter which lineage or discipline or whatever you feel like, following. What matters is how sincere you are in your practice, how devoted you are to your own self, and what routine do you follow, whatever practice it may be, let it be meditation or yoga for that matter. And so for me, I have been to various teachers, I've taken initiations in various schools of meditation, and learning from each one of them, learning techniques and mantras and chantings and whatever. Now I have my own cocktail, and what suits me, what I think works for me. I have my own permutations, combinations. When I'm working outside, like I'm here, okay, then I have my own thing which I do for maybe a smaller time because I devote that kind of time when I'm back home. So then I do that and I make my own adjustments. But exactly I emphasized that yesterday as well. What is more important is to do it, to just be able to do it and pursue it continuously. Make it a part of your life. That is very important. All that in the long run initially does matter when you start to follow a discipline, to follow a school, the regulations, the rules, the yam, the niyam, whatever. It's extremely important. But once you are on your path and you know it it's yourself. There's nobody outside telling you, oh, you are now ready. No. You are ready and you know it. And then you can actually experiment. You find out your own way, find out what suits you, what your personality goes with. And do it your way. Who stops us? No. What is more important is to do it. So do not get into something, anything it can be, which stops you from practicing yoga and meditation.
I completely agree with you. I get asked this question a lot, like, what kind of yoga do you teach? And I find it quite amusing because sometimes I do need to, because people want that answer. They're like, what do you teach? So, okay, I have 2 teacher trainings, I'm a certified yoga therapist. All that's fine, but actually I teach what I love practicing.
Right.
That's pretty much it,
Right.
And if I have to break down to you, like, this comes from this and that comes from that, it's just going to sound like a really big kitchen.
Right. And nobody's going to understand that in just like few minutes.
So I'm constantly thinking about that, and then obviously my personal practice as well, it shifts. The days when I'm, feeling dynamic,
right.
feeling like, okay, I'm going to push myself to it. The days like where I just, just sit on my mat and breathe and, meditate. That's kind of good enough.
Yeah. Thank you.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, I'm still new at this. I was just certified as a yoga instructor last year, and so I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to figure everything out. And I start one place, and I learn what I can. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going to take that piece because I'm not understanding it at this point in time. I can come back to it later. But I think you mentioned yesterday that we are our own guru. And it all comes from source. It all comes from God. It does. And it's been disseminated in many different ways. And I think I think that's why being present, being in the moment, doing the meditation, doing the breathing, doing the yoga, it helps us to become present so that we can find out what it is that our body, what our minds need, so that we can then share. Because I've had the same experience. What do you teach? Well, okay, I was trained this way, but I kind of like to do it this way, and it feels a little awkward. It does feel awkward, and there's so much truth out there, and there's so many wonderful things, so keep learning, keep growing, keep learning, and I think that is so important. But for me, I'm on the same path as both of you. It's just figuring it out and what feels good in our body, and then sharing that, and it'll resonate with the people that it needs to resonate with. Esther?
I disagree completely. Right. You used the word scattered about the energy or dispersed. Did you say something? It was the energy that disperses. Yeah.
And I said clasping hands.
No. When you were talking just now, you said that the teachings are sort of scattered over the.
No, it's not scattered. I said it's coming from the same, like somewhere, and like it just went down because they one disciple had four another disciples, and then they spread out, and then they opened their own schools, and this is how it.
Yeah, but there's still a lineage there, though, isn't
right,
there?
Of course
there's still is. But I can't remember if it's in this book or if it's in the Bhagavad Gita, but then it does mention there that you should stick to that, or if it's even just in Swami Gitananda's step-by-step course. I've read so much, I don't know where I'm reading it from. But when you sort of go to different yoga styles, because there are the different lineages and they teach things differently. So, say for example, Iyengar teaches a different method of breathing than Swami Gitananda does. So if you're jumping from one system to another, you're getting different messages. Whereas if you stick to the one, then your consistency, you've got that consistency in your practice. And there are hundreds of postures, hundreds of pranayamas, hundreds of different things that you can do. So if you feel like doing a more vigorous practice one day, and you feel like doing a more contemplative practice another day, you've got that within the lineage. But sticking to the wisdom that has been passed down from guru to student, and it comes down and it stays pure in its purest form. It's not being changed. I mean, we look now in coming out of America and of Western yoga, we've got all kinds of weird things going on with yoga. There's hot yoga, there's beer yoga, rage yoga, there's all these, take some ridiculous activity and stick yoga in front of it, and you can call it yoga. And it's not yoga, but people say that, I do yoga. And then they talk about what they actually do, and I think that's not yoga. At best it's aerobics or gymnastics, so there's all these different these ideas that you can mix and match different things, and it's being turned into something that it's not. And the essence of yoga, I practiced yoga. I went to yoga classes for years thinking I knew yoga, and it was only when I discovered Swami Gitananda that I really learned yoga, got to understand what yoga is. And I just think that we're losing, maybe not so much in India, I don't know. I only know what I know looking at what comes out of America and what we get in Britain. But it seems like Western society is picking and choosing which elements of yoga it wants. It's ignoring the bits that say this is how you should behave, this is how you should be. And I think that if the yoga that goes to America to Britain was to follow a lineage rather than people coming along and thinking, I can change this. It becomes then its ego, it's not yoga, it becomes about the personality that's teaching it. you know, that there are these big-name celebrity yoga teachers. They teach their own thing, and what they're teaching is aerobics, and they're not teaching about yoga as it's a way of how we should live. They're teaching yoga as a way to get a toned tummy, to get your flexibility and your strength, and it's not yoga. And I think that there's a real danger that in the West we're gonna, as the West often does, it takes something beautiful from somewhere else and distorts it until it just it's something else. And I think that is a real danger. And I think that, you know, maybe it needs to be that India needs to kind of take it back a little bit and say, that's, you know, you're not teaching yoga. And that, you know, maybe that needs to come from India. Say, hang on, you don't know what you're talking about. And that maybe there is a thing that you need to say, that you need to follow what Ludmilla said. I think
it's about practice. We were talking about like the personal practice, right? When it comes to teaching, of course, you will teach as from the lineage you've learned.
Following a lineage, reading these books and a doctrine is lovely, but we're all different human beings. When you're a teacher, you have to adapt to your student. It's not about you. It's about
No, but still.
yeah, I get that. I still follow what I was taught you, and I adapt that for my
So for
students.
example, like someone I'm teaching who is extremely inflexible, I cannot put them into iron position. I cannot expect them to do these things, so it has to be very gentle. So I have to then adopt methods that other teachers have used. So I can urge their bodies into these places. So I'm definitely following a lineage. I think it's beautiful. I love to. I still do. I read from here and there. And with the West, you're absolutely right. You know, there's a lot of this crazy stuff that's going on, but there's also great stuff going on there. You know, they're using music, they're using, you know, different chanting. I mean, I feel almost like we in India are kind of stuck sometimes against the wall. And we're like, no, if you're not wearing orange robes, then you're not a yogi, you know, like, you're not vegetarian, you're not a yogi. Like, I mean, see, the thing is that we all evolved. And there are some beautiful things out there in the West. I feel like Western teachers do. I don't know if you've heard of, I follow a lot of Western teachers and I find them really charismatic. I mean, I find a lot of Indian yoga teachers be very like, aise karo, waise karo, you know, do it like this, do it like that, you know, but you have to evolve into your practice. And so I feel there's, you know, it's kind of like take from both sides. And of course, as a teacher, you need to have your centering, definitely. But I think every person is different as well. You know, some people need that grounding, that one practice. And I know Dr. Anandamala Yogi has a very, you know, his thing is this way or no other way, which is amazing. He comes from a great lineage that might not work for everyone.
Oh, I know it won't work for everyone. I know that. But that's okay. I think that's okay, you know, I know that I see people come into my classes, if they turn up wearing lycra and trainers, I kind of want to tell them, you're not going to like this, you may as well go now.